Wandering from one holy place to another, the Pandavas came one day to a hermitage made famous by the sages the Upanishads remember, and their Lomasa, their tireless guide, told them a story about a crooked little body, a towering mind, and the folly of judging a soul by its shell. Long ago, said Lomsa, the great Vedanta teacher Uddalaka had a disciple named Kagola, devoted and virtuous, but no scholar, and the cleverer students mocked him for it. Yet, Uddalaka weighed a man differently. He looked past the poor learning to the good heart, and prized that more, enough to give Kagola his own daughter Sujata in marriage. In time, a son was born to them, and here nature played a fine trick. A child usually takes something from each parent, but this boy skipped his simple father entirely and took after his brilliant grandfather. Indeed, so the story goes, he learned the Vedas while still in his mother's womb, listening to the chanting around him. But there was a price. Whenever Kagola stumbled in his recitation, as he often did, the child in the womb would twist his body in pain at the error. And he twisted so often that he was born with 8 crooked bends in his little frame. From these, he took his name, Ashtavakra, 8 bends. His body was folded wrong. His mind was not. Then tragedy struck. Kagola, the simple father, unwisely challenged Vandi, the formidable court scholar of Mithila, to a debate on the Sastras. He lost, and by the cruel custom of that court, the loser paid with his life. Kagola was made to drown himself. Ashtavakra grew up fatherless, hearing the story of how the great Vandi had sent his father to his death. But Ashtavakra grew up remarkable. By 12, he had completed the whole of the Vedas and the Vedanta, a towering scholar in a boy's crooked body. He carried no bitterness, only a quiet resolve. One day he would face Vandi and settle his father's account not with a weapon but with wit. And one day the chance came. Word came that King Janaka of Mithila was holding a great sacrifice, where the assembled scholars would debate the Sastras as they always did. Here was Ashtavakra's opening. He set out for Mithila with his uncle Shvetketu at his side, a crooked boy, and his companion walking toward the court that had killed his father. On the road, they met King Janaka himself with his retinue, and the attendants marched ahead, shouting the usual order, "Move aside, make way for the king." Everyone scrambled off the road, everyone but Ashtavakra, who stood exactly where he was, small and crooked and entirely unbothered, and answered them. "Royal attendants," he said, "even a king, if he is righteous, must yield the road to 5. The blind, the deformed, women, those bearing heavy loads, and Brahmins learned in the Vedas. This is the rule the scriptures lay down." A 12-year-old was quoting the law of the road to the king's own guards, and every word of it was correct. And Janaka, being a righteous king, did not take offense. He took the point. He halted his whole procession and made way for the crooked boy, remarking to his attendants, "What this young Brahman says is true. Fire is fire, whether it is a small flame or a great one, and either way it has the power to burn." It was a king humble enough to be taught on a roadside. At the sacrificial hall, though, the gatekeeper was made of coarser stuff. "Boys cannot enter," he said, barring the way. "Only old men learned in the Vedas may go in." And so began a duel of words at the door. The doorkeeper armed with the obvious, and the boy armed with something sharper. "We are not mere boys," said Ashtavakra. "We have kept the vows and learnt the Vedas. And those who truly grasp the Vedanta do not judge a man by his age or his looks." The gatekeeper scoffed. "Enough of your bragging. How could a child like you have mastered the Vedanta?" He thought he had asked an unanswerable question. He had walked straight into the boy's trap. You mean, said Ashtavakra, that I am not big like an overgrown gourd with nothing inside it. Size is no measure of knowledge or worth, and neither is age. A very tall old man may be nothing but a very tall old fool. Let me pass. The retort was so exact that it must have stung. The doorkeeper had no answer but to sputter. You are certainly not old, nor tall, though you talk like the ancient sages. The gatekeeper managed. Get out. But Ashtavakra only pressed harder. Grey hairs, he said, do not prove the ripeness of a soul. The truly mature man is the one who has learned the Vedas and Vedangs, mastered their meaning, and realized their essence. I have come to meet the Pandit Vandi. Tell King Janaka I am here. Just then the king himself arrived and recognized at once the precociously wise boy from the roadside. But Janaka, who wished the child no harm, tried to warn him off. Do you know, he asked, that my court scholar Vandi has overthrown many great Pandits in debate and had them cast into the ocean? Does that not frighten you away from this dangerous venture? Ashtavakra was unshaken. Your great scholar has simply never met a man like me, he said. He has grown arrogant on easy wins over good men who were not real scholars. I have come to repay a debt for my father, whom this Vandi defeated and made to drown, as my mother told me. I have no doubt I will vanquish him. You will see him crumple like a cart with a broken wheel. Summon him. So the debate was arranged, and the crooked boy sat down across from the mighty Vandi before the whole assembly. They took up a thesis and went at it, each summoning the utmost of his learning and wit to confound the other, argument for argument, verse for verse. The hall leaned in, watching a child do battle with the man who had drowned his father. And in the end, there was no doubt at all. The whole assembly declared unanimously the victory of Ashtavakra and the defeat of Vandi. The champion of Mithila had met his master in a 12-year-old with a crooked back. Knowledge had answered arrogance, and the debt of blood was paid in the coin of wisdom. Vandi bowed his head and paid the forfeit he had exacted from so many others, drowning himself in the ocean and going to the abode of Varuna. And far away, the restless spirit of Kagola, the simple father who had died in that same debate, found peace and joy at last, redeemed and honored in the glory of the son he had left behind. And the epic puts its lesson in the mouth of that simple father. A son need not be like his father. A weak man may father a strong one, an ignorant man a learnt one. It is wrong to measure a person's greatness by his body or his years, for external appearances deceive, which shows that unlearned Kagola was never short on the one thing that matters most, plain good sense. And the Pandavas walked on, richer by a story about not judging by the shell.